Three, two, one.
You ready?
You're listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. This is the Real Pineapple. It's your humble hunter here. Hope you're having a great December so far. Hope you're all staying safe. Got another review here in the Real Holiday series. I've got a review for the Santa Claus, which I cannot believe this came out in 1994. Good God, it seems like forever ago. So this film was directed by John Paskin, and I was just looking through the numbers here. It's kind of insane. So the film itself made $145 million in the US, I think on a $22 million budget, if memory serves, which is pretty remarkable, especially for 94. So Tim Allen, I gotta talk about Tim Allen. Tim Allen has one of the most confusing careers in the world for me, because his political views aside, which are, wrong, I've liked Tim Allen more than I've realized I've liked Tim Allen. I do not like Home Improvement. It was always one of those shows I was like, why do people love this show so much? I always thought Wilson was the best character when I would watch it. And I guess that's kind of the point, that Tim's supposed to be, an idiot. Like, I get that. But even him and his wife never seemed like they really cared about each other. Anyways, I digress. And in Last Man Standing, I watched 3 episodes just to say I did, and my God, I think that show is fucking garbage. But Tim Allen, this was really his first big film debut as far as being a leading man in 94 with the Santa Claus. And what are the odds to get 94 with the Santa Claus and get Toy Story 95? I mean, that's a hell of a way out the gate to go ahead and start. But I digress. Tim Allen, though, he plays Scott Calvin, which I will get to that in a second. But what I appreciate about Tim Allen, and just talking about films of his that I've enjoyed, obviously the Toy Story films. I think Zoom is a really underrated film, and I don't think it deserves half the shit that it really does get. I think Christmas Time with the Cranks is really dumb. I know some people really like that movie. I could never get into it, but myself, not a fan. I think For Rich or Poor is actually a really fun movie with him and Kirstie Alley, who's also, weird. But I love the Santa Claus. I'll get to other stuff, but I enjoyed the hell out of Galaxy Quest too. So in the 90s, Tim Allen was kind of that dude, and outside of, getting Toy Story films, he's had a pretty decent film career. So let's call it what it is. So him playing Scott Calvin in this, it really does tap into what makes Tim Allen. Because when Tim Allen plays a dick, there are very few people back in the 90s who were able to play an asshole to start off and make that that 180 degree turn, and you go, oh, I really like him now. And when this film starts off, Scott is just really a prick. He's just really terrible. And I really actually appreciate kids' films where they actually show adults being shitty, because kids need to know, yeah, it's not always you as the kid who's being shitty. Sometimes parents are just kind of terrible, or adults are just kind of terrible. It's not always you. And I actually appreciate the fact the film goes there. So Scott is divorced from his wife. Surprising no one when you see how he acts, but he's divorced from his wife, Laura, who's played by Wendy Crewson. You've seen her in a couple things. What I recognize her from was the Kid Detective. I really like that movie. I actually saw it earlier this year. She was in The Basis of Sex, which I love that movie. If you have not seen that, highly recommend. But she's been in quite a few things here. Just looking through her filmography. By Air Force One. Oh my God, Air Force One. Thank you. That was So I'm sorry, I saw the Kid Detective part first, and for some reason I saw something else. But yeah, I recognize her more from Air Force One than Kid Detective. But going through her filmography here, Air Force One, Karina, which if you have not seen that, I would highly recommend you do. Bicentennial Man is not great. You don't need to see her in that. But she's great in Jack too. She's really actually good in The Vow for the little bit that she's in there. So she's been in some stuff and she's still working. So good for her. But Laura and Scott just have a very tumultuous relationship. They're arguing in front of the kid, in front of Charlie, which is always just a sure sign that you should not be together in the way that they are arguing. The film itself, I was actually kind of impressed that for a 90s film, and this movie is 90s. Oh my God, is it 90s? Even from the grainy way that's shot to Scott using a brick cell phone, which I got a very hard chuckle out of that. It's a very 90s film. So if that stuff does make you kind of go, then, be prepared. But they're clearly just not on the same page. They really aren't fans of each other. Laura has moved on to a new guy in Dr. Neil Miller, who's played by Judge Reinhold, which I completely forgot that he was her love interest in this. That was a very awesome surprise. You, of course, know him from Gremlins and Beverly Hills Cop and Stripes. That's all I have to say. But that was a really pleasant surprise on that front. I was like, oh, okay. So Scott has Charlie, who's played by Eric Lloyd. He has him for Christmas Eve. You know Eric Lloyd from the Santa Claus trilogy films, Deconstructing Harry, and Dunstan Checks In, which I completely forgot was a movie. Just name a few things. But he goes ahead and he is having this time with Charlie, and Scott is just a selfish bastard. Like, he really is. He works in the corporate world. Clearly, I think that has affected just how he is as a human being. Charlie, he's making dinner for Charlie, or attempting to make dinner for Charlie. It's really weird. They don't tell you how long it's been that Scott and Laura have been separated, but a seemingly decent amount of time, and Scott never really learned to cook, even like a dish or two. So when Charlie comes over, he just flat out burns this turkey. They end up spending Christmas Eve in Denny's, which he sees another dad there and kind of tips his hat, as it were. Not literally, but, acknowledges him. And that scene in particular, I was like, wow, that's a really depressing image of just these single dads with their kids in Denny's because they weren't thinking ahead enough. It's like, oh, that's really bleak. But what him and Charlie do bond over is he goes ahead and reads Charlie the story to help him fall asleep. And as he helps him fall asleep, they hear something on the roof. So first off, if I hear something outside, or I hear, because it's a very loud, not a loud pounding, but it's a noticeable enough pounding on the roof. And Scott just runs out in boxers and a t-shirt. And I was like, not put on a robe, not put on pants, nothing. Okay, whatever. So the whole crux of the movie, Santa's on their roof. He yells at Santa like, hey, what's going on there? Like, who are you? What's going on up there? And Santa falls to his death. And we're less than 20 minutes in. Santa just falls off this roof and just plants. Now, a couple things. One, with the snow especially, I really don't think that fall is not, if that fall is enough to kill you, then Batman Begins lied to you. It's really it's not a long fall. So the fact that that's all it took to kind of kill Santa, I was like, well, all right, especially when you get into how much magic Santa does use, which is a whole other issue. But the fact that he just falls and that's it, I was like, okay, that's a little, give me a break. But at the same time, what do you want? Santa getting decapitated. So, I understand for a Disney film, especially in the 90s, I have to kind of go, well, all right, fine, whatever. But Scott ends up putting on Santa's jacket after finding this coat, this coat that says, "If anything were happening to me, put on the suit. The reindeer will know what to do." And I will say the concept and the notion of having a bunch of reindeer just sitting on your roof is really beautiful. The part I live in, Reno, has wild horses walking around on occasion. So I'll look outside sometimes, or I'll go for a walk and I'll see a wild horse just kind of strolling down. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. So, seeing magical reindeer, I'd be pretty excited. But Scott puts on the coat, puts on the suit, actually goes ahead and delivers presents to a couple of people's houses. And I will say, even for being in the 90s, I actually really like the way the sleigh is constructed. It actually looks pretty cool. The CG in this, I don't know if this was a mixture of puppeteering and CGI. I'm assuming it was, but my God, some of the CG in this, there's a scene where he's talking to this guy who's in a delivery truck, and he's like, "Oh, do we just take the I-94?" And the guy is clearly tired because he's doing the doze off blink, and he clearly thinks he's just dreaming because he looks at that sled like, "What the hell is happening? Am I on drugs?" And I got a good laugh out of that. I was like, okay, this is kind of cute. And I think that's the theme of the film in general, is that it's cute. It's really just cute, kind of all the way through. Once you get past the cynicism of Scott's first, half hour or so, it really does pick up in a way that I went, you know what? I got to give this film some credit outside of the, of course, horrendous CG. For me, something that is a bit of a harder pill to swallow is the fact that he sees these reindeer. The reindeer are flying. They're flying him and Charlie to these destinations to deliver presents. The fact that Scott is so, this can't be real, there was just a point I went, dude, you're grabbing a bag, it's floating you down chimneys. The bag is so magical, which I actually thought was pretty cool, and it's something I wish more Santa stories would develop. Not the fact that Santa has this giant sack, that's what she said, but the fact that the notion that when Santa lands at a place, the gift kind of just gift or gifts just kind of magically appear in the bag. I was like, I don't hate that actually. If you're gonna go magic, then hell, go magic. And I actually like that notion that something like that would occur. But Charlie and him have the whole spend Christmas Eve delivering presents in their town, and then they go ahead and go. Scott wakes up and he's back in bed, and go figure, they actually end up at the North Pole. So here's probably the biggest compliment I can pay this film. The amount of world building they do about the North Pole in a pretty short amount of time. We don't spend a lot of time in the North Pole. It's really what Nutcracker and the Four Realms should have went for. Like the way that they are able to build what the North Pole is in these traditions. I really was sitting there going, this is a lot, but in the best way. Like you really are establishing like, oh, hey, elves aren't, like elves are kids who just don't happen to age, which is one reason why they're so, gung-ho and just so passionate about Christmas. So I was like, okay, I like that explanation. The fact that the elves are always like hanging out with each other. There's a sense of camaraderie outside of just building toys together. I was like, okay, these are all actual really good things that I appreciate. They also touch on the fact on what happens when there's not a chimney, and honest to God, good, because that was always something. Even as a kid, I was like, well, what happens if there's not a chimney? And they actually address that. Some people might say, well, I don't like that explanation. Well, then, shut up. I don't know what to tell you. But I love the fact they actually address that, because that is one of those big, okay, if you're trying to stay consistent, how would this work? Once they get to the North Pole, Charlie and Scott are introduced to Bernard, who is the arch elf, and he's played by David Krumholtz. And I have to say, what a wonderful, 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 just pleasant surprise he was. You've seen David Krumholtz in quite a bit of stuff. He was in This Is the End. He was in he was Goldstein in A Very Harold and Kumar Christmas, which I reviewed earlier. He was in Superbad as Benji. He's been in a good amount of stuff. 10 Things I Hate About You, like, just to name a few. And this is one of his best performances. He is so incredibly charming and likable, and something I wish the film would have touched on, because he talks about the fact that, you put on the suit, now you're Santa. I would have liked to know if he's gone through this before, because I don't recall them saying how old Bernard is. There is a great moment between him and Scott where, he asks him about the list. He goes, did you get the list? The list. And as soon as he says it, Charlie goes, he's making a list, and an elf goes, checking it twice, and everyone starts singing. And I was like, well, if he's 100 years old, I'm sure that's happened, 1,000 times. So I just, these little things I really did appreciate about the flick. I will say too, the whole transformation of Scott into Santa was something that was incredibly funny for me. Once they get back from the North Pole, Scott wakes up and he's in these pajamas that he received at the North Pole, which is when I really was like, dude, this is real. Stop complaining and acting like it's not. And that is probably my biggest complaint about this movie, because it does, I don't want to say meander. You have to stretch for 90 minutes. I get that, but I almost wish they would have just had Scott believe it and trying to make sure that Charlie kept it, that he kept it a secret, instead of the route that they do go. That's one of my few gripes with the film in particular. Scott and Neil's back and forth. Scott is always busting Neil's balls, and that is something that I'll be the first to admit I actually really laughed hard at. I was like, okay, this is very entertaining. It's similar, not as direct, but similar to the Mrs. Doubtfire dynamic that she has with Pierce Brosnan's character. It's similar to that, but you have the wrinkle of Scott and Charlie having this connection and having this experience that they can't talk to each other about. And I really actually appreciated the way that was fleshed out. They feel like father and son. It comes across very natural, all of their dialogue and everything. And that was something I was really happy with. My biggest complaint about this movie, outside of Scott, refusing to believe, is I thought Laura and Neil were complete assholes in this movie. They are so just irate that Charlie believes in Santa to the level he does. There's a scene where Charlie has these chairs with little branches on top of them, and he's like, oh, he's pretending they're reindeer. And my whole thing is, I think Charlie's 10 in the movie, like 9, 10. And the way that they're just like, oh, you need to stop believing in Santa. You can't possibly believe your dad's Santa. Why? Why are you trying to take this kid's imagination away? Like, let him enjoy this. But it's almost more, it really feels more about their egos than anything else. And I understand they want what's best for their kid, but there was just a point. There's a point even where Neil sits down with Charlie, and he's like, well, how does Santa get everywhere one night? And Charlie has maybe the most, that's a very good point, moment in the whole film. Neil goes, well, how can Santa deliver presents to everyone in one night? And Charlie goes, well, not everyone believes in Christmas or celebrates it. And I was like, son of a bitch, he's actually correct in that. And you can even tell Niels kind of goes, oh, well, what about this? And it really is just that sort of misguided parenting that I went, you're really probably screwing up your kid more than you should be. I mean, you shouldn't screw up your kid anyway, but you're really making this a lot harder on him, and it's really kind of disgusting in the way you're approaching this. The last scene I'll bring up before I get to my final thoughts here, I love this scene where Scott is at the park, and Scott's appearance obviously is changing. He's getting bigger. He's actually growing, the Santa Claus beard and everything. And there's this scene where he's on the bench watching Charlie play, and this group of kids, like 9-10 kids deep, just goes ahead and starts coming and sitting on his lap, telling him what they want for Christmas. Now, I will give the parents this, for an adult seeing that would be a giant, what the hell is happening here? Like, that was something I was like, whoa, okay. Like, given the context, I understand, but holy crap, that would look incredibly bad if you were a parent. Especially if you're a parent of one of those kids. Holy crap, that would be terrifying. But all in all, though, where this movie ends up, it has so much Christmas cheer in it, and it is a genuinely fun movie, which is something I was really happy to watch. And honestly, couldn't we all use a little fun right now, given how the world is going on? So for me, I'm going to give this a solid A. I thought this was so much fun. I thought this was incredibly sweet. It's something I'm going to have to add into my normal holiday rotation. I really enjoyed this, and I forgot how much I enjoyed this film. So yeah, solid A for me. Yeah, enjoyed the hell out of this. So everyone, the Santa Claus, which is a great play on words, by the way. What did you think of the film? Which one of the Santa Claus films is your favorite? Let's hear that. I think I am going to review the third one here at some point, but let us know what you thought in the comments below. You can like us on Facebook at The Real Pineapple. You can go ahead and like our gaming channel page as well, Real Pineapple Games on Facebook. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Give us a rating. Let us know what you're thinking of the show. You can find us on SoundCloud, Apple and Google Podcasts, Podbean, Stitcher and iHeartRadio, Spotify, TuneUp, and Amazon Music at The Real Pineapple. Thank you so much. Oh, and you can follow yours truly on the Twitter at JHunterRealPineapple. And you can follow Scott on Twitter at Nearman1st. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Please stay safe out there. Wear a mask. Take care of each other. We'll have more holiday reviews coming up here soon, as well as we might have a live commentary coming down the pipelines. I will keep you all updated on that. But thank you so much, everyone. Please take care of each other, and we will talk to you soon.